got our next submitter. So the next submitters are on behalf of Rōpū Mana Wahine, is that correct, team?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, well, no mai haere mai, kia koe Diane, rawa ko Michelle. We look forward to hearing your kōrero, and as you're a group, we've got 10 minutes to hear from you. So I will leave the floor to you. Kia ora.
Tēnā korua. Tia kina te Māori o te wahine, tia kina te tapu o te whare tangata, tia kina te Māori o ngā tamariki me ngā mokopuna. Tihei Māori ora. Ko Michelle Uriaro Aho from Mana Wahine Kōrero, and today I'm presenting with my fellow co-founder Diane Landy. We wish to acknowledge Women's Liberation Aotearoa as our sister group. We address you today as sovereign women and tangata whenua. It is our opinion that the Conversion Practices Prohibition legislation bill is in breach of He Whakaputanga and Te Tiriti o Waitangi as stated in our written submission. We have grave concerns, not for sexual orientation, but for gender identity. He kāka no rangatira, e kore e ngaro. I am the seat of chiefs and I will never be lost. This simple yet undeviating understanding of who we are as Māori is widely understood. That this message of Māori to tamariki and mokopuna from kaumatua is being contaminated by gender identity and American academic ideology is deplorable. Te ao has never believed that tamariki or mokopuna can be born in the wrong bodies. Whose bodies are they born into and who's born into theirs? Te ao has never affirmed tamariki and mokopuna to be medically experimented on or permanently sterilised in order to make them feel authentic. Te ao has never promoted the alienating of tamariki and mokopuna from whānau and hapū, but this proposed legislation will in fact endorse it. The gender identity social contagion that is sweeping the developed world is already instituted in academia, schools, social media, sports, political parties, etc., and is led by certain corporate trading interests with aberrant influence over legislative changes in countries they are not from. He Whakaputanga declares for all hapū absolute sovereign authority and independence from foreign corporate trading interests. Article 2 asserts that foreigners will not be allowed to make or frame laws. The regulatory impact assessment states more than once that there is little evidence of the prevalence or nature of conversion practices in New Zealand. The other unsurprising admission is that public consultation had not been undertaken. The Crown agrees in Article 2 of Te Tiriti to protect hapū in the unqualified exercise of chieftainship over land, villages and taonga. We remind the Crown today that our tamariki and our mokopuna have been, always will be, our taonga, and our villages our hapū, our whānau, sorry. Article 3 commits to upholding and protecting the mana of all iwi in New Zealand to equivalent rights and duties of citizenship identical to the people of England. The British government's education guidelines prohibits teachers in England from telling children they might be a different gender based on their personality or what they wear. And resources used to discuss topics involving gender and biological sex should be age appropriate and evidence-based. How can the Crown uphold commitments in He Whakaputanga and Te Tiriti when there has been no direct and intentional consultation with hapū at all? We are aware of a growing demographic of detransitioners in New Zealand ostracised by the rainbow community. Their stories are harrowing and ominously similar. Some were medically experimented on, and now they are left to pick up the pieces of the lie that they were sold, that they could be the opposite sex or non-binary. This proposed legislation makes no mention of them. Gender identity ideology is being sold to us as the embodiment of many things all at once. According to this proposed bill, it is fixed and immutable for children only. And according to the SOP 59, it is fluid and malleable for adults, mostly middle-aged men. How outrageously duplicitous. This year marks the 46th anniversary of the 1975 hikoi led by Dame Whina Cooper with a petition to Parliament to end the alienation of Māori land. Not 1 acre more was her catch cry. Today, we say to you in response to the threat of alienation of Māori tamariki and mokopuna from whānau and hapū, as written into this proposed bill, permeating with gender identity ideology, not one tamariki more, not one mokopuna more, not one whānau more. To this proposed bill, Manawahine Kōrero say kaore, kaore, kaore. And now I hand over to my fellow co-founder, Diane Landy.
Ngā mihi e mara, tēnā koe kōrua, ko Dilandy hau. 65% of minors attending Christchurch Gender Clinic already have been prescribed puberty blockers. International studies show that 100% of these minors will go on to the wrong sex hormones. From October 2018 to October 2020, there has been a 160% increase in referrals. If this trend continues, one only has to look to the USA and the 600 gender clinics that have popped up to see where New Zealand is headed. Have you ever heard of ROGD? At present, New Zealand publicly funds feminising breast augmentation, masculising chest reconstruction, hysterectomy, salpingo-orphorectomy, orchidectomy, facial feminisation, laryngeal shave, voice therapy, and the granddaddy of them all, genital reconstruction. There was 5 SRS in 2020 and 9 in 2021. Medicalising oneself is extremely serious and not to be taken lightly, apparently. We're now in a place where some teens are believing their puberty is optional, whereas upwards of 80% grow out of this phase if a watch and wait approach is used. The Crown has no business teaching sexual identity at early childhood education centres. Boys do not get pregnant, girls don't have a penis. Biology is a fact. Why is the Crown lying about this? 59% are children in state care are Māori and 10% are Pacifica. It's not a far reach to expect over 50% of these children to be trans that gay away, trans that pain away, trans that trauma away. This is the new silver bullet, the cure-all for all your problems, brought to you by the hug box of the internet. Humans can't change sex. In the Crown's own documents, they state that puberty blockers are irreducible, which is irreversible, and in another area, it says that they are not permanent and they're reversible. One of them's lying. It's also to note that these are prescribed off-label in New Zealand. Gender identity disorder, aka gender dysphoria, is in the DSM-5, yet I'm not allowed to say it is a mental or a psychological disorder or issue. I'm expected to play along and ignore any and all evidence to the contrary. We don't tell an anorexic to stop eating, nor a schizophrenic to heed those voices, nor do we tell obese people to chow down, and we certainly don't tell depressed people to cheer up. We seek therapy for them. Picture, if you will, an elder Māori koe with full-time care of her moko. Moko is enrolled in the state-run school. By the by, Moko arrives home stating she's now a boy and her name is Tama. Koe and Tama are referred to the gender clinic, and within 2 minutes visits, Tama is prescribed puberty blockers. The next steps are the auxiliary products, the packers, which is a model penis for Tama to wear so it looks like she has a penis bulge. Binders follow as soon as Tama's breasts start to develop. If Tama follows this course through, by her mid-20s, Tama will have had both breasts removed, a full or partial hysterectomy, and perhaps even the granddaddy of them all, where the forearm is degloved, and this is used to fashion a penis. Tama is now sterilised and has lost close to 10% of her brain function. Where does Koe take this travesty? She aided and abetted this. There's no children for Tama. Her whakapapa ends here. Sound far-fetched? Well, it isn't. This is one of the bills that will jail Koe for seeking other help outside of a affirmation model. If Koe does find a therapist to talk to, the therapist faces sanctions as well. Worst case scenarios, losing their livelihood. Overreach. The Crown has overreached. If this is so authentic, why can't we talk about it openly and honestly without censure? If this is so normal, why hasn't it been this apparent before? I ask again, why is the Crown teaching sexual identity to minors? The Crown would better serve the citizens by teaching consent. And I'm referring to Roastbusters and the Christchurch Girls High School, where over 60 of the girls had been sexually harassed. Parents should know in advance what's being taught in the classroom. We should be able to withdraw our children from any classes that clash with our whānau tikanga without any without any sense of recriminations. But this isn't how it is in reality. Araha mai. Manawa Hene Kōrero believes as legislators, it is your job to ensure the safety of all citizens when drafting up these laws. And so far, all we can see is not only how dangerous this is for the safety of wahine, tamariki and kaumātua, but also how this will undo the very fabric of our whakapapa, our tikanga, our taonga that we hold dear as tangata whenua. There needs to be parameters around this movement, or the ramifications will reverberate through the generations. I don't expect to be heard. I don't expect anything but disdain and contempt for going against the machine, using the last few weeks' select committees as a case in point. In the words of our UK sisters, we all got here via a cervix, and it'll be a cervix that votes you out.
Tika.
Thank you both for sharing your views with us. I don't have any questions. Do you have any questions for mana wahine rōpū, Mark? We just muted Mark.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Look, no, just thank you to both of you for taking the time to come and submit to us and support your written submission. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.